Hey, welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning into the Owl's Nest. The Summer Showdown is in the books, and it was a week of Overwatch no one will forget. But of the several upsets, which will be remembered? That's coming up today on the Owl's Nest. Welcome back to our regulars, and hello to any new viewers. If this is your first time visiting the Owl's Nest, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video. And don't forget to leave us some comments like Minkus did, who said, "These videos are quality stuff, man. Keep it going." Thanks, Mikas. We appreciate the feedback. So, like I said, it was a week to remember as far as Overwatch is concerned. It's one of the most intense weeks, I think, in recent memory for me, with upsets across the board, which just further prove why the tournament format is so amazing. I think where I'd like to start, Jake, is with the one that had me on the edge of my seat the most and had me pumping my fist the most at the end, and that was, of course, the Houston Outlaws taking their much-deserved win over the Florida Mayhem, which they had just lost to the week prior, I believe it was, in a... Was that a Game 5, or was that just... Or was
it was Game 5, actually. That was super close.
That was a Game 5, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what was it you think this time that Houston had? I mean, you know, they've obviously been on a slow sort of climb, a slow trajectory upwards since subbing or putting hydration into their starting lineup as main tank. But I think now more than ever, their coordination has just been so on point.
Yeah, you know, I think I heard Dream talking about how he thinks Linkser having a resurgence in performance is a big reason for the team's success, and I have to agree. Linkser looks like totally back in form. I think as far as this match goes, beating the Mayhem in particular, for me, that was mostly the strategic switch of Dante focusing more on playing Genji. I mean, he still played a little bit of Tracer, but, you know, I guess he's known so much for his Tracer. It's a bit of a surprise to people, I guess, for him to pull out the Genji. But this is something that I think some of the very best teams in this current situation can utilize really well, is a player who can play both Tracer and Genji to sort of specialize whichever map you want to play. Certain, maybe control maps, the Tracer might be better, and you know, other types, maybe the Genji is better, but to have one player like Dante who can do really well on both, I think that's a huge boon for them. And it does seem like the Genji really did dominate in the Summer Showdown. Like, there was a while where teams were matching up Tracer versus Genji, and you know, it was kind of unclear which one would really be better. You know, teams had success with both, especially the Shock with Striker, were almost never played Genji until, you know, coming into the tournament, actually. So I think a lot of people were still questioning that, but then I think this pretty firmly resolved it, that Genji is superior in the current patch.
Yeah, no, there's already been a lot of calls for Genji nerfs all over social media from the mostly casuals from what I see, but hopefully we continue to see them. I think that the Genji gameplay has been absolutely top tier, and it's definitely a welcome addition back for as out of the meta as he's been for a while. One of the other big upsets that we've seen, which, you know, even after it was the last match of the first day, and this was probably the one that I did not think was going to go the way that it did. I actually missed a lot of the game, and when I saw the final, I had to go back and rewatch it myself, but the Justice actually coming out on top over the Los Angeles Gladiators. What happened here? How was it that the Justice were able to clutch this out and advance to the next round?
This was a big surprise to me. You know, I honestly thought, despite the Gladiators struggling a little bit and the Justice, you know, resurging, I did feel like the Gladiators, they would just be the stronger team. But to be honest, just watching the game, this was a team play win. Like, this was more than, you know, individual outskill, sort of mechanical to victory here. In my eyes, this was really the Justice coming together, and they've been on that consistent upward trend. I wasn't sure it would be enough, but clearly it was. Like, they just look so much better. Tuba looks great on the Genji, and they commit pretty heavily to him, whereas most teams aren't really ever running an Ana. Occasionally, the Justice have brought that out in the past, so that just shows a lot of confidence in Tuba. You know, you're putting a ton of resources to give him the Nano Blade, right? Like, and that's kind of an all-in strat. If it fails, you're in big trouble. But the fact that Tuba's been so consistent for the team on the Genji, it makes sense, right? And although it wasn't enough to take them super far into the playoffs, I think any win at all in the tournament format is a big progress for the Washington Justice. And, you know, Tuba's Genji, and not only that, but Stitch on the Ashe. You know, Stitch has looked good on the Widow and, you know, other hit scan cores, but I think his Ashe looks really top tier. So for me, as a DPS player, I guess I'm always biased to sort of see the DPS most clearly because I understand their role the best. But I do feel like those two in a duo looked really great together. And, you know, to think about the history for the Justice, they have been a team that has relied on great DPS duos, whether it was, you know, Corey and Stratus in the past. Now it's Stitch and Tuba. But, you know, a lot of things about those two kind of remind me of the old ones, right? Like, you know, having that core hit scan player and then a very flexible projectile specialist. this is a perfect meta for that sort of DPS combo. So I think Justice, they reap the rewards well of picking that Genji and being dominant. I think had the meta been Widow Tracer, would have been a little tougher for them, but it wasn't, and they were able to capitalize. And I think that shows that they're a team that's continuing to build, especially with that full Korean roster. You can see the synergy developing. I think it's just all signs of good progress there for the Justice. And the Gladiators, I don't think they played a terrible game. I think Justice outplayed them. Like, I don't think it was Gladiators through this game. I think they played okay, but the Gladiators have seemed a bit uninspired, I would say, in the current meta. Like, they just haven't, they sort of play a standard game, but they're not really pushing the limits as far as maximizing Hulk combos and things like that. I think they're a team that doesn't love this style necessarily. It's not their wheelhouse.
Well, it's definitely a good look for the Washington Justice. I think it's a similar trend that we've been seeing with Vancouver Titans as well. Newer team, newer roster put together, finally starting to find some cohesion. One of the other big upsets that we've seen, and this went further than just one, the Toronto Defiant were actually able to get 2 great wins. The first over the Los Angeles Valiant, and then another one going up against the Atlanta Reign as well. Who are these Toronto Defiant, and what do they do with the old ones?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think the most obvious thing here is just agilities on Genji. That's like sort of what immediately comes to mind. He's a player who has always been known for his Genji. I think that's like historically always been his best hero. He's extremely comfortable on it, one of the best in the league on it. He's a strong projectile player across the board, but there's no doubt when I think back in time that agilities has always been most fearsome on the Genji. So the fact that Genji is such a dominant meta pick just is a massive, massive boon for Defiant, maybe more than almost any other team in the league in terms of how much of a difference it makes to put agilities on the Genji. But beyond that, I do feel that the team as well has coalesced really effectively, right? I think Numlocked on the Orisa has looked really great for the team, seems to be leading the charge, and the initiations with Halt have been clean. That's what you need to play Genji effectively, is good Halts, good positioning from your Orisa. It's so important for Genji, not only to farm the blade with big dash combos, but also to actually use it and get those high value blades, getting a lot of kills, a lot of damage. Then Logix, who has been, I guess, a little bit up and down over the course of his career, looks as consistent as ever, really. Like on the Ashe, on the Widow, it doesn't seem to make a difference to him. He's popping those heads. So just overall, I feel that the Defiant have come together in a huge way. I mean, there's players like Kariv that I don't even want to mention anything because nothing's changed for Kariv. Like, he's always been a beast. And now I think it's more that the rest of the team has stepped up to that level with Kariv, Cruz as well. So this is a team where I genuinely see like a massive team effort going on. And I really do think that this is what people were thinking about when they said the Toronto Defiant could be a top team. Like, this is a strong roster.
Yes.
It hadn't reached that potential previously, but this is the reason people had that faith.
Yep, that's honestly my thinking exactly. When I saw them bring together the talent that they did, I was really excited, and to see them finally start to be making a little bit of progress towards that, it's definitely good. Now, of course, the other big upset, we've been talking about this on the Owl's Nest for a long time now. When would the Paris Eternal finally come into their own? When would they finally prove that they deserve to be in top contention with the teams like the Shock, with teams like the Philadelphia Fusion? And they proved it this weekend, and obviously I think the biggest of those games was going up against the Shock, that they took all the way to a Game 5 and took the win. What was it that you saw here? What was it that Paris had the edge over the San Francisco Shock, who it seems like always has all the right cards in their hand?
I think this was heavily influenced by the Genji. Not only because Sparkle looks like one of, if not the best in the league on the hero right now, and the team clearly understands that and plays with a lot of confidence around him, enabling him very aggressively on the Genji. But I think beyond that, I don't think Shock were ready to match in that comp. They played one map of Rascal on Genji, and they got kind of destroyed. Didn't seem like they'd practiced the Genji to nearly to the same extent that Paris did. They were impressively good with Striker's Tracer, like almost was enough to put them over the line. Striker had a massive game by any means, but when I watched that game, I was like sort of realizing, wow, okay, this Genji is a dominant choice. Like, I don't know if Tracer is really viable, because if Striker is going to have crazy games like that, really consistent performance, getting kills that like very few Tracers in the Overwatch League are going to actually find the kills he's finding, before fights in the openers and stuff. So, I was watching the match and I thought maybe Shock can just do it with the Tracer, but man, they were like, it was ham-fisting with the Tracer, like doing incredible work, but it's just too hard to get value compared to the Genji. Those blades, too devastating when they're combined with the Rally, with the Supercharger. It's just too much. And the Pulse Bomb while great, is just too inconsistent in the face of Immortality Field, right? You're just going to get countered a lot of the time, give a lot of ult charge away a lot of the time. Somehow, Shock were able to get a lot of kills with that ultimate, despite the Immortality Field being basically a hard counter. But yeah, just wasn't enough. And the Paris Eternal with Sparkle's Genji just looked completely ridiculous, so strong.
Yeah, the Genji definitely paved the way for a lot of wins throughout the weekend here. And just really quick, it obviously wasn't all just Sparkle on that Genji. You had mentioned that this is a team effort, and, the team does a great job of being able to enable them. So what roles do supports and tanks play in being able to enable a good Genji like Sparkle to succeed?
Well, I mean, speaking of the tanks, one player I definitely want to highlight from this Paris Eternal squad is Benbest. This is a guy that a lot of people called him a Rhine one trick. A lot of people thought, myself included, to be honest, like when I see him come into the right lineup in previous metas over No Smite, I was thinking, okay, Paris Eternal going to play Rhine. Like that's, No Smite's there for the Winston and the Orisa, and Benbest there for the Rhine. Like a lot of teams have it, sort of division of labor like that. I think Super, right? Where that's pretty much what he's going to play when he comes in is Rhine. But Benbest, I think, is like the biggest surprise and maybe the real reason, like the silent reason that the Paris Eternal were able to take the championship here, because I think Benbest played great on the Orisa. The halts were really consistent. His positioning was very innovative. He was, going for these flanks to set up halts and doing things that I don't see a lot of other Orisas do, but that make a ton of sense in the current meta, where it isn't all about the shield trade, actually, with Genji. It's more about setting your Genji up for those big unblockable combos. Getting that opening of the fight really effectively, halting for a flux with Hanbin, let's say. So, to be honest, I think Benbest is like most improved for the Eternal as far as the tank play goes, because, he looked really, really solid on the Orisa. He's clearly been practicing, and it just enabled his team incredibly effectively. It's not a flashy hero where you're not going to get a ton of solo kills on Orisa. It's just not how the hero is played. But in terms of enabling the teammates, making Hanbin have more success on the Sigma, making Sparkle have more success on the Genji, I think Benbest played almost flawlessly. So hats off to him as far as like picking up that new hero and making it look like it's his comfort zone for a long time.
All right, well, hopefully the Paris Eternal will go on. This isn't just a one-time thing. We continue to see them surge and find success. But that's all the time that we have for today. Make sure you check out our other videos here at the Owl's Nest, and keep an eye out this weekend for our breakdown of both the Summer Showdown finals, both in North America and the APAC region. Otherwise, make sure to visit checkpointxp.com for a wealth of other content, video, and otherwise. And make sure you're following Jake on social media. That's JakeOW on Twitter and Jake_OW on Twitch and YouTube. And until next time, stay on that payload.